Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ola Zatrov, and today my group, Team Honestly Sweet, will be presenting our research and findings on Lick Honest Ice Cream's social media presence. So before we begin, I'd like to introduce my team. So I will introduce our topic under investigation, and then Sharnicia Dotson will continue on, and she will present our primary research and analysis, and then Brian Sellis will continue on with our secondary research and analysis. And then Jennifer Lombatsos will continue on with our findings and conclusions, and then Brianna Chacon will finish off with our conclusion and recommendations. So a little bit, as I said before, my name is Ola, and a little bit about Lick Honest Ice Creams. They opened up in Austin in 2011, and their goal is to deliver honest and local ice cream. Lick has been a successful business and is looking for ways to expand their social media presence as well as their customer base. And our goal was to expand Lick's social media presence. And we mainly did that through researching, through conducting primary and secondary research at the St. Edward's campus. And this helped us in establishing our recommendations and findings. And now I will pass it on to Sharnicia to continue on with primary research.
Hi, I'm Sharnicia, and I'm going to be talking about the primary research data collection and data analysis that we did for Lick. So we conducted a primary survey where we asked 10 questions in hopes to gain insight on how students are using their social media and whether they can be influenced by businesses on social media. So in how we administered these surveys was we went to our classrooms, and we also targeted faculty and staff on campus, and then we went to common areas such as Joe's and the computer lab. Before giving the survey, though, we did go through drafts of class insight and getting peer evaluations and evaluations from Jill, who was our contact for Lick Ice Creams, in terms of making sure the survey was perfect. So once we did gather our data, in terms of primary research analysis, we move on. We collected 264 surveys from the student population. Once we gathered these surveys, we deemed whether they were valid or invalid. And in terms of a survey being invalid, we looked at questions on whether or not the question was answered incorrectly, whether the question was left empty, or in terms of our ranking questions, whether or not the ranking scale was used properly or not. And after looking at all the questions, if 2 questions on the survey were done incorrectly, then we deemed that survey invalid, which means all our valid surveys are at least 80% done correctly. And once we looked through all of our surveys, only 9 of them were deemed invalid, meaning for all our analysis, we used 255 surveys for our primary research, which was 94% confidence level. Then after we deemed invalid or valid, we moved on and split them up into 3 demographics. So we had our under 20 demographic, then we had our 21 to 30 demographic, and then our over 31 demographic. And as you can see, we did have more less than 20 and 21 to 30 demographic than we did our over 31, but we still think that the answers that we garnered from this over 31 category is still useful into our primary research analysis. Once we did our demographics, then we analyzed them based on the topics that the questions in our survey garnered. So now we're going to move on to Brian Sellis, who's going to talk about the secondary research we did.
Good afternoon. Today I'll be presenting the secondary research that my team did. In order to use the social media, we have to understand what its purpose, strengths, and weaknesses are. With that in mind, Facebook is one of the top social media sites. But how can a small local business benefit from using it? Well, they can create events. They can use, whether they are promotional or not. Facebook users can go ahead and like, comment, and respond, and share these events. With this, you create word of mouth, and then you'll drive customers, whether they be current or prospectives, into the store. Twitter is another popular one. It is said to be popular among younger audiences. It increases interaction with customers. How exactly is this achieved? Well, Twitter users can go ahead and leave comments, questions, and any other kind of feedback that they want, all with 140 characters. And then the business can go ahead and reply, creating that relationship between the user and the business. Users can also go ahead and share the tweet by favoriting, retweeting, and quoting tweet. And as I said, it's as simple as 140 characters. Apart from these two, there's been 2 new social media platforms that have been created. Instagram is fairly new. It was created in 2010, and it has about 200 million users as of now. It is a short photo sharing platform, and is popular also among young audiences. Instagram is all about sharing edited pictures. People want to see perfection through these pictures, and it gives businesses a chance to show their behind the scenes processes and what the business is really about. Google Plus is also fairly new, and Google Plus is more of a simple, basic information about the business that is displayed. You will have the business title, you will have the address, the hours, and any reviews that customers leave. Users can go ahead and rate from 1 to 5, and then they can leave comments. The business, on the other hand, can go ahead and reply to these comments. So with all of this in mind, we have to understand also the demographics of these social media sites. It is said that Twitter, that the fastest growing demographic for Twitter is the 55 to 64 age bracket, and for Facebook and Google, it's 45 to 54. So it's not only younger audiences that we're trying to market to, or that the business is trying to market to. It is the entire, all of the users that use the social media site. And now, something that we came across during our secondary research is a marketing campaign that Target did recently and that had a lot of success. It was the Lily for Target hashtag that was going around. It is a new clothing line that they just started, and they use the hashtag all throughout Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It displayed details by showing pictures of the clothing that they were offering through this line. But the way they did it is that they did it in a strategic way. They did different pictures for every platform. For example, we have Instagram. Users are looking for perfection. They are looking to like, comment, and share pictures that look nice and that you can sort of relate to. For example, who would not like friends like these, posts like this? Twitter. Users are looking to have action shots. They're looking for promotional events in which they can easily, just get in a car and probably join the event. And then we also have Facebook. Facebook, it's a little bit more simple. It's a close-up. People want details of what they're about to click on and what they're about to experience. So with all of this in mind, you can create a marketing campaign that will be strong and efficient. And I'll pass it on to Jennifer to talk about conclusions and findings.
Thank you, Brian. Hello, everyone. As Brian briefly mentioned, my name is Jennifer, and I'll be discussing findings and conclusions. First, I will begin with the primary research findings that was based upon the primary data collected from students, faculty, and staff of St. Edward's University. The first findings found on the primary data is that the majority of the social media platform users prefer Facebook over the Twitter, Instagram, Google+, and Tumblr that we surveyed. However, neither of the users are using Facebook or the other platforms for following food businesses. The second finding found on the primary data is that the St. Edward's community is actively searching for new places to explore in Austin. They are always ready and seeking for new food businesses. The third findings found on the primary research is that most of our students here at St. Edward's are looking for promotional deals and to be a cost-effective way to go out and eat or enjoy a lovely ice cream snack or anything like that. So it would be beneficial if we did have any event or promotional event for that. The fourth finding on the primary research is although students can be found on various social media platforms, they're indifferent about food businesses and they do not pretty much focus on the social media pages, and it does not influence them to go eat out at certain restaurants or any type of food environment. The fifth finding that we found on the primary research data is the prominence of Amy's ice cream is very significant over the Honest Lick ice creams. So therefore it could be overshadowing, so most people are just very focused on the Amy's, and they're a lot more of a tourist attraction, I guess. Finally, the last finding on the primary research is that when they were giving the choice on the survey for definite answers, or respondents frequently selected the answers that were considered to be in the gray area, such as maybe or somewhat important. Therefore, they're able to, it's a lot more easier to persuade them to say yes. So that is a good finding on that. Moving on with secondary research findings. Based upon the secondary research conducted by our team, the first secondary research finding would be that Facebook is a great source for small and local businesses to create promotional events and can generate word of mouth. The second finding found on the secondary research is that Twitter is a social platform for interacting with customers. It allows businesses to respond to questions able to, directly to the owners or the people representing the businesses. Lastly, the third finding found on the secondary research was that Instagram was primarily used for people that wanted a sneak peek to what the business is offering, food business. So they would look onto Instagram to look at, intriguing pictures or anything that would make them want to go and try that restaurant. Thank you, and now I will pass it on to Brianna, that she will be discussing the recommendations.
Thank you. So, as Jennifer went ahead and said, was that I am going to be going ahead and covering all of our recommendations that we went ahead and grabbed from all of our primary research and secondary research conclusion and findings to grab these recommendations. So our first recommendation is to really utilize Facebook, considering it is the most prominent social media platform that has the highest amount of traffic. So really being able to go on there and use its functionality and tools such as polls, such as event creation is really important. One of those event creation things or promotions can include announcing new seasonal flavors, or a little bit of a sneak peek to what next season will have and having people guess what is it going to be, kind of thing. So kind of really pulling in those customers to going to that specific page for Lick. Next thing are the visuals, keeping them really high quality. Customers really want to look at the product since it isn't food. People are interested in what they're eating. People are interested in what they're going to be putting in their mouths. So looking at Instagram, making sure that all of those are kind of high resolution and keeping a constant focus on whatever the product is going to be shown on Instagram. This also includes cover photos and header photos on Twitter and profile pictures, making sure they're high resolution so that way customers can identify them from a small thumbnail. Location tagging is really important. This is a form of word of mouth marketing. So encouraging customers to tag location on Facebook or on Instagram and being able to, for other customers, friends and followers, to look at that photo and automatically correlate that picture to where Lick Ice Creams is and to seeing what kind of product they make and what that is that they're posting about and why is that great. Creating contests out of promotional events is kind of a big deal because customers always, of course, want a little bit of incentive as to why am I actually going to involve myself in this, why am I going to be spending time here, what am I going to be getting out of this besides really great ice cream. Interaction on social media is our fifth recommendation, really recommending to interact with questions and responding to negative and positive reviews. Giving the business more of a personable feeling with the customers is really important, making them feel welcome to asking questions and to putting reviews on any website. Keeping a consistent theme on Instagram, we noticed, is one of the biggest reasons for engagement on Instagram, and that includes keeping the same maybe angle or focus on the photos, maybe using the same filter, something like that, that really kind of gives the Instagram a personality of itself and not just someone taking pictures and just putting them on Instagram and people recognizing that that's what that is. engagement is much more important than having the amount of followers or friends on social media websites. You might have 5,000, 6,000 followers, but the amount of likes and comments is what's really going to really benefit the food business and getting that interaction between the business and its customers. Plus, it also increases chances of the business being featured on larger social media websites like Do 512 and Austin Foodstagram, things like that they can get featured and then possibly bring more customers in. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude and wrap up. So we had Ola, who introduced us to our problem and our topic under investigation. She passed it on to Sharnesia, who covered our primary data collection and analysis. And then Brian took off that and did secondary data collection and analysis. And then we had Jennifer go ahead and give us our conclusion and findings. I gave the recommendations, so I really wanted to highlight that recommendation that we thought would be most beneficial, and that is utilizing Facebook amongst all other social media platforms, staying consistent with it, using it for the interaction, and kind of combining that with also using its functionality and tools for promotional events and polls and things like that to interact with the customers. So that concludes our presentation for today. I wanted to say thank you for attending and listening to us, and if anybody has questions, I open it up.